Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's session for Women's Entrepreneurship Week. We are going to be talking about different types of entrepreneurs, especially necessity and flexibility. But there are many different types as well, opportunity and sidepreneur. So my name is Sheila Long, and I'm the founder of Malama Dough. And we've been around for 5.5 years. I'm here with an excellent group of women who want to discuss, who definitely have a wealth of experience in entrepreneurship. So I'd like to just briefly introduce them, and then we'll go around and have you guys introduce themselves. So first of all, we have Sarah Spencer, who is the founder of Northshore Organic, and also the co-founder of the Posh collective. So welcome, Sarah. And then Jobea Murray, who is the founder of Jobea Bakes, and also our sponsor for tonight. We have these wonderful cakesicles here and a nice gluten-free cake that she made. And then we have Stephanie Patek, who is the founder of LivingWell Collective, Physical Therapy, and what's the name of the other one? Northshore Wellness Collective. Northshore Wellness Collective. So thank you guys for being on our panel. Sarah, do you want to start us off by telling us a little bit about your businesses?
Sure. My first is my longest 9 years with Northshore Organic Services. It started, I was a single cleaner, and that kind of fluctuates between 6 and 9. And then we're primarily residential. And then I have the Posh Collective, who I'm co-owner with Super Like we're a luxury resale shop in Charlotte. So
congrats.
Thank you. So I'm Jobea Murray. I own Jobea Bakes, custom cakes and treats based in Glendale. And I'm also the board president of Kids Impact Community, and we are a nonprofit that creates service projects for families with young children. And I'm Stephanie Patek. I am the owner and treatment physical therapist of LivingWell Physical Therapy. So as of right now, I'm a one-person show with a second coming on board beginning of January. I'm also a co-founder of the Northshore Wellness Collective, which is a collection of practitioners that focus on prenatal, postpartum season of life for the Northshore community. So a combination of physical therapists, pediatric physical therapists, occupational therapists, practitioner consultants, doulas, midwives, chiropractic care, pelvic floor physical therapy. So whole conglomerate of individuals. So yeah, something that's in.
Yeah, a lot of things that we definitely could use, especially when we're in our childbearing years of life. So thanks for doing that. For all these great businesses. So was this your first venture into entrepreneurship, you guys, or did you do anything before you opened these businesses?
I did. I had a daycare for 10 years at a daycare center and started with an in-home and then moved to a daycare center. So that was me. I think I've always been an entrepreneur, maybe. Yeah, this is my first business, but again, it's the same thing. Like in high school, I would bake pies for Thanksgiving and sell them to teachers, like out of the home ec room.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, like, so I think there's always been that, like, kind of, miss of, like, being like, oh, I have the skill, like, I can do things with it. And I've always baked for people, not necessarily for money, just, for birthday cakes and things like that. So I think, like, looking back now, like, where I'm at with business and stuff, like, I'm like, oh, yeah, that like, things make sense when you look back. Like, at the time, it didn't make a lot of sense, but now. This is kind of my first big go at being an entrepreneur. I grew up in a household where my father was a small business owner as an entrepreneur, and I always valued the flexibility he had. So I think when I was was looking for career paths for myself. That was always something that was in the back of my mind. That's something that I knew that I wanted and valued. And I now have the opportunity to do that.
Great. So do you guys want to talk a little bit about your business? Like what, I know each of you are a part of 2 different businesses currently, if not more. Kind of like what prompted you to get started, and just kind of let our listeners know about it.
I would say I was a cleaning business. Even with daycare, I had kids and I had 4, and daycare costs are cheap. So, and I wasn't familiar. We moved, to Wisconsin from Florida, and I didn't really know anybody. And I was like, maybe I'll just stay home with my kids. So that's kind of how that worked. And then with the cleaning, I always think it's kind of like a little joke, but I was like, my daughter wanted to go out of state to college, and I was like, we can't afford that. And I was like, well, maybe I'll start cleaning, and I did. I had a lady at I was at Swanky, and she's like, you can clean my house. And I still clean for her. She's like my favorite little client, and I do it by myself for hers, but for then it just kind of transpired from all of a sudden I'm doing 5 houses, 10 houses a week, and then I need help, and then I have to get an EIN number, and then I have to like it all just kind of tumbled into what it is. And I keep hearing this flexibility thing, and I really don't know what you're like.
That's why I was debating. I'm like, should I put Sarah on the
Yeah. So,
list for
yeah.
but initially, maybe or not, or maybe.
yeah, initially, absolutely. Yeah. So when it comes to growth, though, flexibility isn't there any longer. Like, sure, it could be. How many people do you disappoint, and how many people do you lose because you want to be flexible? So I feel like, yeah, I could be. We're very flexible at Posh. We're at the collective, so that's okay, and that's where I want to be now. So it's like I've started flexible and built into this thing that's no longer flexible, and then now I'm trying something else to make it flexible. So that's where I'm at.
So you're running both businesses. So one, you don't really have the flexibility, but the other one you do.
Yeah, I mean, because we're like, this is ours, we can make our own rules, it's because it's based off of customers walking in versus us coming to their homes. You have to, when you're starting a business, you have to, I guess, think a lot further if you want to consistently be flexible. I mean, I guess it just depends on where you see yourself. Do you want money? Do you want to go on trips? Do you want to, what does your flexibility mean? There's a entrepreneurial page on Facebook where somebody said, what do you love most about your being a small business owner? And somebody said sleep. And I was like, what? So I don't know what that means. But sure, we all have we all get what we want out of it, right? I don't think I could run a business and even be like, I guess I'll just take the day off. It's just not in me. You just keep going, So I don't know. I think there's a lot of different ways of looking at flexibility. I like the flexibility, the fact that I answer to myself at the end of everything, and if I wanted to shut it all down, I guess that's where my flexibility is.
And
It's a wrap.
when I was writing my book, I had at least 43 entrepreneurs, and then I was like, I categorized everyone: flexibility, opportunity, are they a sidepreneur? What's the other one?
Yeah.
Whatever. And everyone changed. People who started off in one, they grew. And pretty much when you become an opportunity entrepreneur, which is when you have something probably like what you're doing, where it's not captured and you seize it and then you totally grow, then everything else just goes away. That sidepreneur, that side business,
Right.
the flexibility, that was what I found, but that's why we have the panel, so you guys can help educate me.
And it depends too on what stage of your journey you're in, right? Like Sarah said, I started off because of flexibility, and now I'm so busy where I'm working 7 days a week, and I work 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. And that flexibility isn't there, which is now, all right, now I have to take that jump to hire somebody else so that I can go back and harness back into the flexibility side, which is why I started to do this in the first place. So using that as more of a guide, where am I in this process? And again, what's my ultimate reasoning behind why I'm doing this?
Right.
Right? And part of it is, I want to help other people with, because I love doing that, but also I have two children that are 6 and 3, and they're only 6 and 3 for how long? And people laugh at me when I say this, but my best time with them was during COVID.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't do anything else. We hung out at home together, and we did all of those sort of things. And I'm like, wow, that's what I like to do. But I also love to help people, and I love therapy. So maybe we can marry these two.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. So I think kind of going like, I'm in that transition now where I'm in the beginning stages of what you probably did a handful of years ago, where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not flexible anymore.
But I'm still within my 5 days a week. I
See?
start at the same time, like 8:45 in the morning. And I'm done every day, never later than 3:30, so I still have that, which was my
Yes.
goal,
Right.
was to send the kids off to school and be there with it, so
Yeah.
that still is there. So I'm thankful for that, and I could change if I wanted to, but I feel like you just get driven when you're in a business and I'm proud of it. So and then supply and demand, the demand comes and it kind of ebbs and flows where I keep my clients and all of a sudden I'll get this wave of new clients and I'm like, hey, do I say no or do I hire another person? Or it is a lot, So you gotta put yourself in the situations. It's not like you're forced into them. So
It's a lot about setting boundaries. Like, it sounds
It's-
like you're really excellent at
absolutely.
that, just saying, I'm not working past 3:30.
Right.
It's just, and you're also like, I have small children.
But I think that's something that I need to be better at too. The boundaries.
well, there's other boundaries that I need. Yeah, there's different boundaries that I'm not good at.
Yes.
I am good at saying, well, this cleaning, residential cleaning, you can't do it any other times. If you are, you're doing it when people are at home or on the weekend. So it doesn't make sense to do it outside of that. So that boundary works anyway. So
Right.
my other boundaries are, that's a long list, but where I need to learn how to say no, or I need to learn how to hold people accountable when it comes to now I have employees, I've had employees for 6 years, but it's like, I still have not figured that part out. I feel like that is my biggest downfall in my business, is knowing who to pick. Sheila had given me advice of hire slow, fire fast. And I try to remind myself that literally every week, to remember that that's true, but that's my biggest issue when it comes to contracts. So.
Hire slow, fire fast. Just make sure they really work for you. And then when they're not, just sounds so ruthless.
It
Just
does,
get
but-
rid of them. But otherwise,
Don't drag your-
because you have to figure out your culture of your company and what is like, we talked about this Tuesday night, like in the growth friend or foe session, employees came up as the biggest problem too. Because you have your target customer and that's like the people that make you want to show up and you really want to help
Yes.
them. They're really great. And then if you hire someone that doesn't jive with those people, they kill your business and they tick off your target customer. So they just have to go.
Yeah.
Or your business you're not gonna like your business. You're not gonna want to show up. So that was not.
And you'll lose employees too, because now you
Yeah.
change the dynamic of, or the climate, I guess, of them coming to work. Why would they come to work if there's that one or two people that are just terrible,
It's hard. You've helped me a lot too with running Malamado, where we had certain members that just didn't fit our culture. And it's like, you're like, it's money, but then like you help me with like, these people are not good fit.
Right.
You're like, but how can I turn them away? Right?
It's-
Jobea?
Yeah, no, it's true. There's a lot of it. Yeah, like finding that balance of like knowing your core like audience and your demographics and like who is your client. Like I'm very strict about like I kind of know pretty quickly like if a client's gonna be a good fit. Like and I'm willing to say no. Like, and again, I look at like, I'm like, but the revenue, like, oh, I'm gonna miss out on this money. I'm like, no, it's not gonna be worth my mental time and the amount of time I know I'm gonna have to dedicate to this customer, and they're gonna be they're not gonna be fun to work with. And I make cakes, like, I don't want not fun people, like.
I think
like,
you do
I know,
okay.
yeah, like, I've literally been like, I've had, like, I've sent emails to people and been like, look, if you are gonna like be this way, like, maybe I'm not the cake person for you, like, I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's true, like, people just like their expectations versus my expectations, if they're not aligned, then it's not a good fit. And that's where kind of my flexibility with it all is like, I look and I'm like, yes, I could do all of these things. I'm like, but again, I have young children as well, and I'm not. Like, I'm going to say no to things. I'm not going to promote my business. I'm not going to try to explode and like be all the things to all the people. Like, I'm not gonna do weddings. I'm like,
Right.
I'm not gonna do those things. And like setting those, like, me knowing what my success looks like and knowing that I will be successful in the way that I want to be successful without doing the things that business books and like business people tell you have to do. Like, it doesn't fit and it doesn't work for the life I want. And so like my level, like the way I measure success probably isn't like, if you took it to, you know, a like business gentleman, as it usually is, like, they're gonna be like, oh, but you could do this and this, and like, you could be making this money and that money. I'm like, okay, but I don't want to.
But who are those people, you know?
It's
Because
yeah.
there's success. This story my dad told me. He's like, yeah, my friend, he just doesn't answer calls before 1 p.m. He's a very successful businessman. I'm like, why not, Dad? Who's this guy? He's like, oh, his son has special needs and he takes care of his son until 1.
Yeah.
And everyone who knows him respects that that's his time with his child. I'm like, there you go. So if someone's that stuck in a box, maybe they're not a good fit
But I
either.
think it's
right?
the large, you know, it's the capitalism of it all. It's the like,
The money driven.
yes, the money driven,
It's
is
the
the
growth,
like,
yeah.
yeah, it's the growth. That's the only way you succeed is when you're growing. The only way you succeed is by increasing your revenues. The only way you succeed is by taking over the world, like to be the, in my world, like to be the next sprinkle cupcakes or the next crumble cookies. And like, that is not.
It's okay being okay.
Yeah, and liking where I'm at and watching my slow, steady growth. Where 3 years ago I'm like, there's no way I'll do that many cakes in a week, and now I do it, and I'm like, oh, that was a slow weekend. Like, I don't.
How many cakes a week do you do?
I do about 7 orders a week. So, but the orders are usually between, they can vary in sizes.
Congrats.
And it is, yeah. It's
As a consumer of them, we enjoy it great. It's like, oh, it's a birthday. We should call Jobea.
Yeah, I like the boundary you set for my son's graduation. She made her cake. And you were like, if I have to deliver, you didn't say have to, but if I know you, if I deliver to the restaurant, the fee, I'm like, or if you come to my house, like she wants me coming to her house. Like,
It is, well, and that's an excellent example, because that was one that I struggled with as a boundary. So like, I used to have a very low, very cheap delivery fee, because I'm like, no, like, it's no big deal. I can, I can go. And then my delivery driver with my cousin, started to be like, I couldn't find the house. There wasn't anybody there. There was a dog. I couldn't find this place. And I'm like, he's not a problem solver. So, you gotta,
it's an employee.
it
Pros
is,
and cons,
exactly,
you know,
right. And so I'm like, you're
How it
right,
works.
it is not worth
Yep.
his time and his effort to do this. And then the price of gas started to go up. So I slowly just kind of increased my delivery fee. And now it's at a comfortable point where most people will say no. And if you want me to, then it's enough.
It's gonna make it worth.
It's gonna make it worth my efforts. Yep.
Sure.
So, and even, today I had somebody that like, she had 2 sick kids at home and was like, you remember you said you deliver, like, or she was gonna pick up. And like, she had planned on picking up. She's like, is there any way I can get delivery instead? And I'm like, absolutely. Like, I have 3 kids. I've had 6 kids. Like, please don't load your kids in the car just to come get a cake. Like, I will bring it to you. And so like those kind of like finding that level and that balance of like, what do I need to charge in order to make this worth my effort? And what do I need to get paid in order to keep me away from my children? And like, to balance that out, is that's what you're paying me for, is you're paying me to neglect my children.
Well, someone, I read it. It was on a podcast, like last week or the week before, that really just resonated with me. And it said, every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't get that out of my mind, because I'm like, I'm getting better, and I'm learning that boundary. Like, I don't, after 7 p.m., my phone is nowhere near me. So if you call me, text me, email me, oh my gosh, I threw my back out, when can I get in? I'm not answering it till the morning. And as much as I want to, because I want to help you, I can't.
Yeah.
Right, I can't. Because if I'm gonna do that, now I'm saying, no, I'm not gonna read my child a bedtime story, because I'm responding to that, and that's important to me.
Yeah, you also set up that expectation to your clients.
Clients.
So then they're like, oh, obviously she's gonna write back to me at 9 o'clock at
And
night.
then if
And
I
then they
don't-
think that it's then okay, you have set up that expectation that this is how you do business. And
Right.
then people end up taking advantage, but they don't realize.
Because
they're
you,
taking advantage
because you've
because
already
you
set
set-
that up. You've already set that up.
Yeah.
So that's the part that I'm getting away from
Right.
now,
Yeah.
because I'm a morning person. I'm up at 4:30 in the morning. So like, I'm writing emails to people, and they see that, oh, she sent me an email at 5:15 in the morning. Well, I can obviously text her at 5:15.
Right.
Please don't text me. But I will respond to emails, because you said it last night, but that's not part of my window. My children aren't up, no one else is up, but that's when I do it. Or I'm seeing patients at 6 a.m. because.
She does. I'm the evening, like, I will send you a message at like 11 o'clock at night, like, I will send you an email, and I get, again, a lot of moms, and so like, I will get messages back at 1 o'clock in the morning because somebody's up breastfeeding and they're working on their first birthday party for their kid, like, and I am happy to chat at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, like, no problem, because I am functioning, like, I put everybody to bed. Like, I have my quiet time, and I was like, I am happy to chat, and design cakes, and like, all those things in the middle of the night, but yeah, send me a message at 5 o'clock in the morning.
But that goes back to the flexibility, because we can design our schedules around, the priorities of our life and what works best for us.
And finding those clients
Yeah.
that are willing or able to then fit into that, because there are other, I'm sure they can find another physical therapist who will
Absolutely.
reply to them. at
Absolutely.
7 o'clock at night, and they are welcome to them.
That's exactly it. I mean,
There are
I
plenty of people,
plenty of people.
and there are plenty of
Mine at
places,
11 o'clock.
Absolutely.
and there's always, and that's, I think, the other part of the scarcity and like flexibility of it all is that. We figure out what's going on, right? Emergencies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say about, the whole flexibility? Yeah, so that is another part of my business that I like, is flexibility. I can choose to answer email when I want to. And also, if they don't like that, that's how you kind of vet your people also. It's a good way to say, if you think that at dinner time, calling me because you missed something is more important than my time with my children or my husband or whatever. Yeah, that's usually when I start like people.
If you think you can call me at all, that's
Right.
right. I'm like, why are you calling me? Like,
Text not work?
right, exactly. Like, no. And I don't do text messages either. Like, I do not text. I'm like, there's an email. I'm like, I email, I have Facebook Messenger, I have Instagram Messenger, I have an inquiry form on my website. Like, there are plenty of ways to contact me. Like, phone is not, who calls?
Yeah, no.
Who calls? I know. I have a Google Voice and it answers it, and then they leave me a message, and then I'm like, how are you calling?
Someone referred that.
It's good, yeah, Google my business.
Yeah, that is a necessary.
I know, that's what I was just, I think we got to, and I know, first though, and we do.
And now we're in the wheel.
Tell us about your business. We really haven't.
Oh, I didn't talk about, we haven't
Yeah.
talked about my second one.
Yes.
Oh, wait, let's talk about my second one. So the second big thing in my life is Kids Impact Community. And so we are a nonprofit that creates service projects for families with young children. So I'm the board president of that and have been now since June of 2019, but have been involved with them since 2015. And so it's just amazing the things, like, it's really empowering kids to be change-making citizens. And that it gives that balance of work and life and something that my kids can be involved in, but then I also have kind of a group of women that are amazing and phenomenal that I get to like interact with and be with, which, because being an entrepreneur is pretty lonely, actually. Like, I don't get to see a lot of people, other than like, you know, when you come and pick up a cake, but we don't get to chat usually. So, so it's really a great organization to kind of, to bring out the other side of things. And I find a lot of parallels of something that I'm doing in business that I can move over to the nonprofit, or things I'm doing in the nonprofit that then I can use in the business as well. So I love that kind of like back and forth with things.
Thanks, you guys. Little family, some of the daughter didn't get picked up, but she did. She's just nervous because, you know, she wanted to speak early. Yeah, so that's why we're here. Flexibility. I don't know if it's flexibility entrepreneur. I think it's just moms and parents just understanding. So you guys all, on all of your businesses, would you say, I know Sarah, you answered already where you're at in terms of growth, but how would you feel the kids impact community is, like, where are you at?
Yeah, I think we're kind of on that cusp between flexibility and opportunity. So it's very much in the phase now that we're kind of coming out of the pandemic. It's that, what does sustainability look like? You know, we went virtual for all of our programming for the last 3 years, and now that we're getting back in person things, and our leadership team is all volunteer. So we have mom volunteers running all of our programming. So it's really, that's not sustainable. So we need to kind of figure out like what does the opportunity look like for us? Because it's there, we just have to figure out how to balance it out in not asking more volunteers, but how do we transition into some staff or into some more kind of, permanent, exactly, yeah, or stipending, you know, like, but it's exciting, but it's, you know, it's it's overwhelming as well, so it's kind of figuring out what that looks like before we, you know, everybody gets burned out. But we do we're gonna like over 110 events a year. So I mean, we're active. Yeah, we had 3,000 volunteer hours so far this year. So
Wow, congratulations.
yeah. So the potential is there to do more. It's just a matter of, again, our capacity. So, and kind of those that finding the opportunities to support.
How about you? Where are you at with your businesses?
Right, so I think I'm kind of in the opportunistic for both businesses, I think. LivingWell Physical Therapy, I've always been word of mouth. I've never done any advertising, nothing, website. I've got nothing, and I've loved that because it kind of allows me to choose my demographic.
Yep.
And I know that my clients are wonderful and they value me, and they know how different I am than other physical therapists. So they refer people to me that they are okay sharing me with, right? Kind of a thing. And I love that. But right now I'm in this transition between, which is my business coach kind of talked me through this, I'm no longer Stephanie Patek. I'm LivingWell Physical Therapy. So as I bring on more staff, they're okay. Maybe I can't get you in for 2 weeks, but my partner is, why don't you give her a try? Because she is vetted. She is underneath my scope of my morals, my treatment style, right? My philosophies, all of those things. So that's been a big transition for me. Which a very good transition, a very needed transition, but it's different. I know the social media world is like a thing, and I'm like an old soul where that's not my world, but yet my generation is that world. It's weird thing that's kind of been out there for me. But now that I'm like honing in on it, I've hired, a social media team that's kind of doing all of that work for me, because again, that's my time, and I don't have the time, or classes, but I don't want to give up my time to do that, but I know it's valuable. So that's been another part of this growth for me, was to know, what can I do myself that is worth my time, and what is something that I need to outsource out. And that's been hard, because I've always been I can do it myself. Yeah. Do, right? Why not? It's just my time. I can do it. But that's been a good piece for me. As we kind of move into that next phase of LivingWell. The Northshore Wellness Collective was an idea that I had when I was in that season of life with my littles, right? It's like, I'm a very active person. I love to work out. I love to do all these things, but yet I have this 3-month-old baby, and I want her to come with me and do these things with me. But where do you do that? It doesn't exist, right? It didn't exist. Right. Or I wanted to do prenatal yoga, and I want to do it 3 days a week because I know it's great for my body, and it's going to help assist me in my labor and delivery process, my recovery. And well, there's one class that in people, wellness on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. That's it. In the entire city of Milwaukee, in the suburbs. That's it. Yeah. Huh. Interesting. Or I needed lactation support, right? And I needed a sleep consultant, and I needed all these things, but you could go to Brookfield for this one, you go to downtown Milwaukee for this one. There's someone up in Whitefish Bay that's really good too. Great. So now I have a 3-month-old, and I'm driving all over the place, like
For help.
for
That you
help.
like, that you don't even know what to ask, or like the questions you're so lost. You're like, is this the person I need, or is that the thing I need? And then you end up on the internet, and you're like,
at 1 in the morning.
right, at 1 in the morning.
Yeah,
Right.
right. And you're tired, and you're right. You don't know what's happening. So I'm like, well, what if they brought all these people together? What if there was like a one-stop shop where you could do all of these things, right? That so many people, maybe they need, maybe they don't. I don't know, but I did. So why not? So I started reaching out to some people that I knew, and a friend of mine is a pelvic floor physical therapist. She was like, oh my gosh, Stephanie, this is amazing. We should totally do this. I'm like, oh, I have my own private practice. You have your own private practice. And when do we have time for this? She's like, oh, I'm like, all right, I don't either. Come along. A friend of ours who was I met on the playground, who our kids were playing together.
The playground.
Love the playground, right? And she just moved up here from Chicago, and she's a prenatal postpartum fitness kind of guru. I was like, oh, I feel like our lives are meant to be together. And out came this collective that we opened up at the beginning of this year, and it's obviously something people need, because we have people coming out of the woodwork wanting to work with us. So we are in that growth stage now, where we're kind of going through that idea of vetting people out. Do you fit our mission? Because we've had 7 lactation consultants reach out to us. Great, that's fantastic. However, we don't have room for 7 lactation consultants. Which one is going to better align with our needs and our values? Same thing with like sleep consultants and all of these things. So both businesses are in this kind of growth organization, which is scary and exciting and overwhelming. And am I cut out for this? All of those things. And you're confident, but then you're like, maybe I'm not supposed to be in this space. But then you go to a women's empowerment event, and you're like, heck yes, I'm supposed to be enjoying this, because if I'm not, nobody else will.
It's not me,
Right?
too.
It's not me, too. Right? So thank goodness I have 2 amazing partners in that journey. We were meeting to kind of go over like organizational things within our business. And it was so funny because we all have our own very different strengths. And I'm like, I don't think this could have gone off the ground if we didn't do this. And it's so funny because those strengths just come naturally. So it makes this whole process so much less intimidating, which is super exciting, but also very scary, but also wonderful at the same time. So in the whole grand scheme of things, I am moving from flexibility to in over my head a little bit, trying to figure that out, but knowing the outcome is going to ultimately allow me to continue to have everything that I planned to when I start this journey. You know, super exciting. Excuse me.
I think the key is hiring the right people though, because even when it does, when you get out of growth and you're like fully in the next phase, it's like if you have the right people helping you, then you can still set the boundaries like that Sarah's doing. Sarah, do you want to talk anything about like the Posh Collective or where you're at in terms
Yeah.
of comparing it?
We're at a, with Posh, we're at the very beginning, we just gotta sign up. And like with the whole marketing, we're choosing not to do marketing because we feel like we want it to be more, it's more. I didn't market with the cleaning company either. I like it to be more organic that way too. Because we already know, like if you market, everybody comes and I just don't think you're a small business anymore. It changes everything. I think it gets muddled. So I think with Posh, we get great clients already. We have great customers. We already had a customer base and people that really wanted this business to come back to Shorewood. So, I mean, there's a lot of places that went out of business over the pandemic throughout walk, so this is something we know is necessary for our shopping needs. But then me and Sue like to do this. This is how me and Sue met. And, I mean, I guess we just take it day by day. We have all these ideas that we just come up with and rattle it around. And I mean, really, I see myself at Posh all the time. Like I would rather be there all the time, versus being with the cleaning because I'm going to be 50, I don't want to be using my body every day, so I would rather be, dressing up, and go and hang out with my friends. I like that idea is amazing to me. So with Posh, I feel like it's just a stay tuned. Because we're excited. We really don't know what it is, but we're really excited. So
It's the beginning. That's when it's kind of fun, right?
Yeah. Yep. And I feel like when I did this as a job resale, I always loved it. What always got in the way was, maybe drama or maybe, like for us, now we're the owners. We can make our rules. We can pick the clothes we want. We can, we just do it. We can do our own thing. And that's the best part about being a small business or entrepreneur. We can close the door. With the other, with cleaning, it's like you're high demand. We have a schedule and it's stuck every day. Sure, I could say, what, I'm gonna take the day off, but I was all pay. And then I have other employees that are okay. So that's what I really look forward to at Posh is once I can move all the way over there. Hopefully I have somebody run my business. And then I can be truly part of the flexibility of this,
You need your exit strategy.
I do need it.
Yeah.
But I still love it. I still do, but it's just like, I feel like my time is kind of up. Being in the field, I can run it easily, but yeah, exit strategy. County cleaners.
So many years ago, I had a coach. I know everybody is a coach. I meet a lot of coaches who are entrepreneurs, but there is this thing called the Wheel of Life. So when I wrote my book, I wrote it 3 times, actually. I wrote the first manuscript, then I sent it out, and then people critiqued it, and then I rewrote it, and then my editor critiqued it, and then I finally submitted the final draft. But Wheel of Life, when I put that in there, that just went crazy. So it's basically, it's like a wheel, and then there's different parts on the wheel. And the goal is to be a 10 in all of them. So there's like personal relationship, there's family, there's finances, there's some learning, and you can put whatever you want on your wheel. But pretty much your goal in coach, like I'm not a coach, but my coach told me the goal was to be a 10. And so you're always working towards a 10. So is there like, I don't know, how do you feel you're at in terms of like personal fulfillment with running a business? Like, do you think you're happier running a business than not running a business or working for someone else? Like, what areas of your life are the most fruitful? Being a business owner. I know it's a huge question. Like personal relationships, family, fine. And it depends where you're at, and you're all involved with two separate businesses, so. You don't even have to answer personally, but it just also just running the business, I think, yeah, like your mental health, I think, maybe it's a
Those
better
numbers
place.
always change. They could be a time one day, but tomorrow they're.
Yeah, like when I had the coach, we'd meet every 3 weeks and it would just be totally different. But like that mental anguish, now that I've kind of I'm not really running Willamette as much, I'm mainly just doing the events. But it is just, I don't have that mental anguish all the time.
Right.
It's really nice.
It is
The
true,
person
though.
helping me is, she's got the mental anguish. But I don't know.
Yeah, I would like to get to that point where if I could, I was talking with my girlfriend, we were talking about being small business and, like if we were really doing that, we would really be still in the trenches. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't anticipate being in year 9 at all. It wasn't a plan. This is like such a gradual, this just happened so gradually. I really didn't have a plan. It just kept going and I just kept going with it, so. Yeah, I guess, and now I don't have time to sit down and piece it together. Maybe I do, but I haven't taken the time to do that, to be like, well, where am I? Still running, I'm still going, and it is exhausting, but it also is rewarding. So like, I think those, to put numbers on it, I think they would change them. But me wanting to be an entrepreneur wouldn't, like, I don't want to work for somebody else. That's not my personality. Especially as you get older, if you haven't worked for people, then I can't imagine.
Yeah, let's see, so the beauty of it is like, so my son's school, they're doing roller skating the next like 4 weeks, and I'm like, yeah, I can come and help, like Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm there. Like the last week is like the week before Christmas. I'm like, no, I probably shouldn't do that last week of Christmas because like, exactly, I'm working on launching my pre-sales for Christmas, like, so it's, I know, you can look for those, they're up and ready to go. So like, but it's that pre-planning to like set up my holiday, like what will success look like, but also like, where am I going to fit this into my time and my life? And yeah, I mean, I started the business because I was a stay-at-home mom of 3 kids and childcare is expensive, and I could work for somebody else and pay for childcare, which would cover my salary, or I could start my own business, like in all honesty. And I'm like, let's go with that one. And I'm really lucky. I have an amazing partner who like, he has a full-time job, he has the benefits, he has like the structure and the stability of it all, so that I can take over our entire front room and turn it into a bakery. So things like that are really, I'm so grateful for, and the ability to be able to do that. Congrats.
I think I'm very similar in that sense. Like I don't work every first Wednesday of every month. I have at my daughter's school for their fun lunch days. That is what I do. She looks forward to that. And my husband works in a position where his job isn't flexible. Like he's got to be there from this time to this time. And as much as he would love to be at home to help and do these things, there are just a lot of times he cannot be. So, when I was working in a big outpatient hospital setting, there were days I was working 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. and I had these children at home that I wanted to be with, but yet grandma was with them because I couldn't be there and my husband couldn't be there. So it was that whole, well then, why am I doing this when I actually want to be there? What other options do I have? And started out as that, which it still is my main driver of what I'm doing. Like Sarah, I'm not sure what my out is.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe we need to have more of a business plan, like, what is my 5-year, 10-year, like, what is that?
So,
And then.
You're excited. Sorry.
I'm like, I know, but right, like, where do you go?
But I think, so the thing is, like, I'm looking at, like, so I'm working out some costs, like,
But it's
building
organic
up-
too.
right, but so I'm working through with I call mine an advisor, like, because it's through Small Business Development Center, like, she's not a coach, like, she just helps me with all the things.
Right.
And so we're like pricing out, like, what would it look like to have a storefront, or not a storefront, like a facility, a space. I don't want a retail storefront.
Like a commercial bakery?
yes,
Like a commercial,
exactly,
like,
yeah.
kitchen to
Yes,
utilize.
yes,
Okay.
yeah, so like my own dedicated space, and like looking at that and like looking at like the 3-year number, like projection, I'm like, there's no way, like, that's ridiculous, not gonna happen. But then if you would have talked to me 3 years ago, like, I remember talking to friends and they're gonna be like, you're gonna do $25,000 in revenue. And I'm like, no, I'm not. There is no way,
That's
no
good.
way that that's gonna come out of my kitchen. Yeah,
Did that happen?
that was last year's revenue.
No way.
Like, it's right, it's ridiculous. Like, so I feel like even if I was to sit down and put together a 3-year plan, I'd be like, there is zero chance that's ever gonna happen. But I'm gonna do it. Like, I'm still gonna do it, and I'm not even gonna know that I did it. And I think,
Right.
like you said, like, you just kind of like get into this, you're like, oh, I can do more. Like, oh, I look, I did this thing over here. Like, oh yeah, I can just keep going. Like, you're right. This is a great, like, kind of part that also needs to be done, or something else you see a need and you're like, oh yeah, I can do that too. And like, and it just kind of happens. And so, yes, I think there's something to be said about having a 3 or an exit strategy, maybe more, but like, also because I think we undersell ourselves. Like, I think if we put together a 3-year or 5-year plan, like, I think that it would not actually be realistic. Like, I think we'd be selling ourselves short. And I think most women entrepreneurs would probably do that too. If you ask them, do you think?
No, I can't agree
No?
to that. No, there's so much, just all women can do.
Right,
and
so
planning, no,
Underestimate our own power.
I
and,
think
like,
it's about life planning, and just life gets in the way. Like, COVID, I mean, who saw that? I don't know. But it's good to have projections, even if you're not running a business. I don't know. But then it is stressful, because then you have to work towards the goals.
Well, I also.
And accept failure when you don't hit it. So why do that?
When you're an owner and you're by yourself, right? You're in charge. You also don't want to jinx anything. So if you say, like, that's why I never marketed either, because I don't like to do my own work, right? So then you also, you have to be humble, and there's just like a balance along all of this. So, I guess I think about that every day too. Like, sure, if where I'm at right now, in 5 years, I mean, maybe I'll be at the same spot if I allow it, or if I don't allow it, or if things just happen to blow or, get big. I don't know. I would like to have a business coach to do all this with me, but then I'm thinking, well, now I have to meet with the business coach. You know what I mean? Like, now that's gonna take away that, like how much time do we have? So time
Where are
is
the
very.
priorities?
Yeah.
Is it to
Well,
run?
and
the
not even
business?
priorities, I only have so much time in a day. You know what I mean? Like, I really do. They'd have to follow me around, because I really don't stop. If I do, I'm at home trying to hike, so I don't know.
That was my biggest thing too, is when I was figuring out like this, I need to grow, well, then if I didn't need to, but I would like to, grow.
Yeah.
And I'm at that point now where I personally can't take on any more patients.
Right.
Because my ultimate goal was, I want to have space where if someone needs me, they can see me in a reasonable amount of time. Right? It's not, I can see you on December 1st. Well, I heard my back yesterday. Right? Like, that's kind of defeats the point of why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And
I
why I
like your
started it.
idea where you're like,
Yes,
if I can't do it, I have somebody for
I
you.
have somebody
Yeah,
for you.
that
Right.
really resonated with me, because I don't have that luxury.
See?
I'm always looking for that person.
person.
And I don't know who she is, I'm gonna find her,
Yes,
maybe.
right.
he-
But
Right.
it's also about building those relationships. So I have relationships with lots of other bakers. So like I'm taking out Thanksgiving because I can, because it's my choice.
Right.
And, but I also have like other friend bakers that it's like, well, I'm not doing cakes this week, but here are 3 other bakers who are.
And see, that's what I did that this morning. I
Right.
had a patient that was like, I did this, I was like, I am off all afternoon, but Kelly, she's in Tulsa, she's fantastic.
Exactly.
She would be someone I would go to see. I mean, I don't want to give business away to
No,
another
right,
person,
but you're
but
more
at the same
respected
time,
at the same time.
that's
like, they're-
exactly it.
Yeah,
That's exactly it.
and there are
he-
plenty of people.
Yeah, he
But
called me on
proud.
and then he called me on the way back over here saying she was fantastic, she was great, but now I want to follow up with you. When can I get that?
See,
Right,
and they
you-
trust you.
And then
Yeah,
they trust you.
right.
So like, okay,
Right.
you know what I mean? She
But
vetted
how
this
do
person.
you, how do you now, you have to, what's the word I'm thinking of, how you can get a percentage of that now.
Right.
Mhm.
So now you
Right.
can
Well,
eventually,
yeah.
will your thumbs always work? Are your, you know what I mean, like, so will there be a day, do you see in 10 years where Stephanie just is in charge? She's just the lady that started it all.
Right, and someday I think yes, but right now I
Yes.
love my
Right.
patient,
Right.
that relationship and that.
Yeah, this is your
Yes.
livelihood. This is
Yes,
your-
I
this is
love
what
it,
you
and I
do.
love it so much,
Yeah.
but again, I think about it too.
Yep.
It's gonna be winter soon, I could slip and fall and break my leg, now. what
That's,
am I gonna
yeah, and that's what.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna have that. But when it comes time to like thinking about those next
Security.
phases, I knew that I needed somebody to help me through that. I don't have a business background. This is a second career for me. I was a middle and high school math teacher for 6 years before I went back to school and got my doctorate in physical therapy. That, I know, I'm good with that.
It's
Business-
amazing. Yeah.
You got
Not-
That's good back.
Right, right, exactly. And business is not it's not my background. It's not. So like, I need somebody that's in that space to help me.
Right.
So I was like, this is something that needs to happen. So I need to dedicate time to this. So every other Thursday from noon to 2, we meet, that is my dedicated time. And I know that, and it's fit into my schedule and it's blocked off. And I know that, and that was hard for me because I look at that, I'm like, that's 2 hours of my day, that's 6 patients that get a month. And you know what I mean? I started figuring out financially, and I was like, but that doesn't matter if I'm stagnant. If I don't grow, then that means nothing.
Yeah.
Right? So it's all of that, what's that end game? What's that big picture? And that was a hard piece for me. It still kind of is, in a sense of just the financial aspect. But again, if you're looking for what's my next step, then that's a must.
I also
That's
love the
awesome.
accountability of
Right.
a coach or an advisor or something where it's like, there are deliverables that like they expect from you and like you will be wasting both of your time
Right.
if you don't come with the things that are supposed to be had at that time in order to move the needle. And so like, it's very much that like I require that like that deadline and that accountability of somebody else other than myself. Because I'm like, I will let myself down. That's fine. Like I will not let other people down. Like that is not going to happen. And so having that again on that calendar of like, okay, I've got to have this and this done.
Right.
Like even if you're doing it at 10 o'clock on that Tuesday, like it's gonna be done. It's gonna be done.
It's kind of your wheel of life though. Like, how do you feel about your finances being out of control? Like, so it sounds like for you, something else is more important that you're like, I'll take on, I'll lose the money and maybe
Yes,
pay
short
someone.
term.
So then it's like, okay, my finance, maybe that is my new 10, is that
Yes,
I'm gonna
right.
spend money. So then my personal relationship maybe will be a little more fruitful because I'm not, but it changes.
Right.
And the finance piece I find is always really difficult because it's like where, like you said, like you're not only losing, like you're not only spending money on a coach, but you're also losing money on clients. So it's like double, like it's like a double.
A double whammy,
Like-
and hit both sides.
Yeah, and so then you're like, where do I make up this revenue? Like, how do I cover these other things that like I need? But then you're like, okay, it's not about the year 1, it's about the year 3. It's about like setting yourself up with that foundation for success, like.
And that was one thing my
Forward,
business coach said was like, work smarter, not harder.
Right.
So maybe it's.
Efficiencies. It's
Yeah,
all
it's
about
all
finding
about- it's
efficiency.
all about efficiency.
Like, I work out of my house, there are 3 tiny humans and a husband, like, I have to be ultra efficient in everything I do, because dinner still needs to be put on the table, and like, my sink is still full of dishes, and like, I have to work smarter and not harder in order to get all the things done, so,
You could contract that out. Someone could make dinner. Or you
It's
could
true.
buy dinner.
Or you could have someone,
totally.
or you could
Yeah.
have someone clean
Somebody
your
come clean my
house.
house, I
Like
know, that's
Sarah,
what I'm
we
like,
know Sarah,
I'm
we
like,
know Sarah.
how are you doing dishes?
No,
Oh.
no,
We're
no.
not to dishes.
Boundaries, she has very strong boundaries about it.
That's about
I need one of those. Like,
I think when you have one, you're a one-person entrepreneur, things might just be,
Yes,
you know.
not as
you
complex
count
or
on
as
yourself,
complicated.
You know, yeah, it does get more complicated. You know, and yeah. With growth comes.
New challenges that you don't anticipate, and that's what I try. No, that's what I'm trying to.
Yep.
And you're still the face of the business, like,
Yeah.
you are still the face of
We
your
take
business,
all the risks.
and when somebody else shows up in your place, and they're like, oh, where's Sarah? Like,
Oh,
why is
yeah.
Sarah not here today? Like,
the big
that's,
question.
and you're like, oh, like, you trade off, like, or somebody's looking for you, and you're the face of the business.
And that's the big transition I'm going through right now.
Yeah.
Is going from Stephanie Patek to LivingWell physical therapy. You're gonna get same quality care. It's not me,
Right,
but
you're gonna hold everybody accountable.
everybody accountable.
Yeah, because you're gonna, you step up to that manager position versus being an employee.
But again, back to the whole hire slow, make sure that person is the fit. It's not just a body.
And just knowing your values.
Yeah.
And then knowing the values of like your values set kind of the values of the business. And everyone you hire mirrors those values, and then you build your brand of the business, and then you can step away because you're like, this is our brand and this is who we hire, and here's our job description and
Policies and procedures. All the policies.
how, but you don't know what they are. We went through that
Procedures,
here. Someone asked for our policies. I'm like, policies? And then when you have people that don't fit, you're like, we're defining those policies.
Yeah, and you do, yeah, like, you do kind of define them as you go, like, you read it, you add, right? Yeah.
Highlight.
Well, what can we do to help you guys grow your businesses? Like, how can people listening help out? I know there's quite a few different businesses. Toby, you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, buy cake.
She's great with any food allergies,
Yeah, come volunteer, bring your tiniest humans, like, again, 3 and 6-year-olds can volunteer, and they're phenomenal volunteers, they are amazing.
I'd say purge your closet.
And then come and shop.
And then come shop, yes, and then come restock your closet. Yep.
Do you have things online at all, or is it all?
Yeah, we post pictures, so if anybody's interested, we sold that way. But it's best to come in, you know, especially when it's resale, you know, every brand has different size, you know. A 6 could be an 8, it depends on that too, and then, it's always better to see it in person, you know, so.
Where are you guys located?
We're right, on the 1400 block of, Capitol Drive, right next to the flower shop and the
Yeah.
pharmacy. Yep, so
That's a great
it's a good location. We like our little niche, a little spot in there. We've already filled it, so. But we get great, I mean, we have great stuff. I mean, we have a good eye, and, we have good clientele that's bringing us stuff. And then, yeah, it's fun. Even if you don't buy anything, come in and look at it. It's fun to look at.
Stephanie, how can we help?
Hurt yourself now. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding, please don't, please don't. And I was just grocery store, actually. You know, if you do, my model is always this: I want to be your physical therapist. You have a dentist, you have a primary care doctor. I want to be your physical therapist. So if you injure yourself, or you know what, I I know I'm gonna be getting back into the gym, or my child is gonna start tennis in 2 weeks. All right, let's get into C stuff. Is there something that we should be working on beforehand? Is there strength components that we should be doing? Flexibility in the hamstrings is terrible. Great. Here's a home program. That's stuff you should be working on at home, right? So I tell people, I'm like, I don't want to just hone in and say, well, I only work on, you know, this age group and this condition. I don't. I think I have a very wide skill set. So, you know, last week I had a patient that fell down and I saw her quick for a 20-minute eval. I'm like, you need an x-ray. I'm pretty sure you're fractured the head of your humerus. And she's like, okay, that saved me $250 from going into urgent care and I'm saying nothing, right? It is. She comes in. That's what it is. I have consult with ortho tomorrow. Great, fantastic. Like that's what I want to be. And again, that's not a typical physical therapist kind of mentality, right? I also want, you know, you see your dentist every 6 months, right? For a cleaning and a checkup. Why don't we do that with our physical therapist for our bodies?
This is true.
Right? So I'm like, that's what I want to be. So again, that even if it's not with me, right? Find somebody that can assess your body in that sense, which can prevent things from happening where you actually have to see somebody.
Well, and I can attest to that, because my husband goes through her, and when he has that injuries, he just has strains, or he'll be like, oh, I think I need to separate to work that out, you know, like, he knows, 'cause of old age, we're getting older, and I mean, I do
You know your
go,
body.
yeah, you just know, yeah, and you know the spots, and if you, because you are his physical therapist, like, he knows that he's put it off a little too long, and he has to get in, so, yeah. I'll be coming too. Perfect. He's always like, yes.
All right, well, thanks to all of you for being our panelists. I'm so glad we had this great discussion. I think we've all learned a lot. And thanks for, yeah, thank you. And thanks for everybody for tuning in and for being here in person. We're gonna enjoy some of your treats now. So thank you.
You're smiling.
And I'm like, how am I gonna eat Perfect.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Great.
Really good. Always fun to see
You guys. Awesome.
And Sheila, this is Kamal Irani,
Hi.
the our club member.
Okay, got to listen into a little bit of it, yes.
Yeah.
I like the, it's nice.
Oh, Howard.
So I'm definitely.
Oh, okay, where are you?
It's actually a Regis because I used to live in Phoenix, and at that time, and I needed, some. But he was not a big, going there and. But I've been doing now.